I need to be the best version of myself so that people remember that I'm your dad. That's a quote from a father I'm sitting with today, having a conversation about the loss of his daughter. With me is Alex, Issa's dad, from San Antonio, Texas. Alex and I walked the StillDad Letter Journey together earlier this year, and in the final session, he read this letter to his daughter, Isabella, and these were his words: I need to be the best version of myself so that people remember that I'm your dad. That single line is why we're here today. Alex, welcome, brother.
Hey, good to see you, Azure. Thanks for setting this up and for yeah, inviting me.
No problem. I mean, it's always a pleasure. I have so much time for you, my friend. So let's dive into this. Take me back to before you started the journey, the letter journey. And what were you carrying back then? What was working, what wasn't working?
Sure, yeah. So my wife and I have been on a fertility journey for, I mean, I'd say the last about 6 years, right? We were sort of which I think is becoming a lot more of the norm of 20s was, we got married in our late 20s, and then late 20s, early 30s is, well, we're going to move around a lot with work, travel a lot, get all that out of the way. And then by the time we hit 32, 33, we'll be ready to financially, emotionally, just on a maturity level, ready to have kids. And, you think, okay, well, you grow up your whole life thinking, yeah, as soon as you stop protecting yourself, it's gonna happen. And so fortunately for us, the journey's taken a lot longer. And so, um, we've went through a few early um, pregnancy losses before we had Issa via IVF. So Issa was stillborn at 28 weeks, May 24th of last year, of 2025. And so leading up to that was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of struggles, a lot of the fertility journey that I think a lot of the dads, bereaved dads that we've talked to are on. But then you get the hope and the joy of being pregnant, and you're still scared, you're worried every single appointment because you've had previous losses. But I think in particular the stillbirth loss, you sort of get lulled into a sense of security at the third trimester, thinking, okay, well, we're even if the baby comes early, you're sort of out of the woods. And there's obviously risks, right? But in general, you should be okay, even if they're in the NICU for a while. But stillbirth wasn't even something that was on our radar, right? It
Mm.
was just not even a possibility for us. And so then when it happened, you go through all of the normal grief emotions, right? It's shock, it's your anger, it's obviously sadness, and then all the ones that are surprising, like embarrassment, right? Like,
Yeah.
why did we feel like we were able to, why did we think it could happen to us, right? Why did we think we could have something good happen to us? Why did we let all of our friends know and get their hopes up? Why did we let our family know and get their hopes up? And so it's you come to find out that everyone's grief journey is different, but and unique, but a lot of those feelings are normal. So we were fortunate to have a lot of support from family. We were able to find a lot of resources to help us with our grief counseling, resource to help us with the afterlife care for Issa, funeral services, and all of that. So in a lot of ways, we felt really fortunate, and there was some even guilt associated with that feeling of, like, moments of feeling okay, moments
Yeah.
of thinking, okay, well, there is still a lot of love here. Obviously, what happened was tragic, and I would trade anything to to have her here. But you do a lot of work, and you cope with it, and you people tell you the right things, and then one moment you're feeling good, and then another moment you're not. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
grief, right?
Yeah.
We, like I said, it's for us, it's been, we haven't really we didn't really deal a lot with some of the things that other dads deal with family saying the wrong thing, friends disappearing, family disappearing. We honestly had a lot of support, and we felt very fortunate in that regard. But that doesn't mean that those intrusive thoughts and the the negative parts of grief aren't there,
Mm.
and the doubt, right? I don't, sometimes I don't feel like a dad. My family's, they're very emotionally intelligent. They're telling us, oh, you're dad, you're always a dad. But no matter how many times you hear it, sometimes you just it's hard for you to believe it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think I'm the type of person that I'm a problem solver, and I needed a way to fix it, right? So fix the grief, right? So okay, if I go to this grief counseling, I'm gonna fix it. And then okay, I'll be cured. If I join the Zoom call, I'll be cured, or there's a support group, or if I go to a certain amount of therapy, and it's just obviously not how it works. And I was reading a lot of books about grief. I was talking to a lot of different people, getting different perspectives. And it wasn't until I was talking to a friend of mine he's a Jesuit priest, and he's like, you're intellectualizing a lot of it, a lot of this grief. You're trying to find the answers in a book, but have you meditated about it, right? Have you sat down and like really felt it? And I realized that I hadn't, right? I was trying
Mm.
to look for the answers to fix my grief with what other people have written, or what other people have gone through, or that comparison of your grief with other people's grief. And I think when I joined the letter writing, it was okay. Now I'm sitting with it and meditating with it, and praying with it, and really just feeling it, right? Because there's one thing to talk to someone, a therapist, family members, even your spouse, but it's another thing to put it down on paper, physically writing it down, which is huge. And it's I'm not much of a crier, but and I think in the cohort that we were on together, we saw that I wasn't the only person that said, "Man, this is kind of the only time I've actually cried."
Yeah.
I don't think I
Yeah. I
had cried
remember.
in months until I was actually sitting down and writing things down.
Yeah. And what at that point, what made you say yes to the journey, to the letter writing journey when you did?
So I did find myself almost to a fault trying everything, right? Like I would go to the local bereaved parents groups. I would, talk to my friend who's a Jesuit priest. I would talk to my friend who's a Christian pastor, right? I would go to a Buddhist meditation temple. Just every little resource I would see, I would kind of just cling to it, almost like, okay, this is something productive, I guess, to do with this grief. It's something tangible that I can do. And the letter writing honestly was just one of those extra things of like, well,
Mm.
why not just try it, right? Let's and it even went into it a little skeptically, because I don't normally journal. I you know when I go to grief counseling, my wife, we've done some grief counseling together, and she's more on the let's do some art therapy, let's do some writing things down.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, no, I need you to give me homework to do. I need you to,
Yeah.
here's a checklist and check all the boxes. And obviously, that's not how grief works, but I found that my letter writing, though, was almost like writing lists. Mine was a it wasn't necessarily there was some just sort of kind of free form, obviously just writing things out, but I found myself just creating a lots of lists, and just organizing a lot of the things that they were just
Mm.
bouncing around in my head.
So, well, what was it that you were hoping that might happen? I mean, when I'm trying to get a sort of a picture of as you're coming into that first session, what were you hoping for? Or were you hoping for anything at all?
I think it's the latter. I was at that point. probably 8 months since the loss, more or less. And so I knew that my naive thinking of early grief of, all right, this next thing's going to fix the grief and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be good. I knew that that wasn't going to happen, but you still have that little hope, right? Okay, I'm going
Yeah,
to
of
have this
course. Of
this uh
course.
this aha moment. I'm going to have this revelation, right? Like, all right, it's all going to click and it's all going to make sense. And I've I went into it both with really high expectations of I'm going to have this like really enlightening moment, but also, this probably isn't going to do anything for me. But
Yeah.
I did come into it just open, right, open to anything, and I think that's been the what I've held on to is just saying yes to that freedom, right? I think
Mm,
having that
mm.
freedom to explore things, having that freedom to try different things, because it's cliche, but a lot of cliches are true. It's there's no right or wrong way to grieve, and so
Yeah.
it's okay to try everything.
You have to. You
Yeah,
have to.
and,
Yeah.
really the that aha moment or that moment where everything clicks. I've learned to sort of I read a quote recently that was like the opposite of pain and suffering isn't necessarily happiness. Sometimes it's mystery. And I
Mm,
think it's, yeah, that like, um, it's sometimes you're going to find that joy and that peacefulness, not in this like it's super enlightening moment or this big aha moment or, okay, all of a sudden I'm fixed. It's in the normal things that you feel a sense of peace and joy.
yeah.
And they're not mutually exclusive, the grief and joy. It's, finding joy while crying, while writing things out in my journal was something that was surprising, but really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that. I mean, I just wanna, for the sake of the listeners and for this exercise, there are 5 letters, so 5 sessions that the dads go through over a 5 week period, just to put all of this in context. Which of those 5 letters or five out of the 5 sessions really hit the hardest, and why?
Oh man, I every week I went into it like I don't even know what I'm if I have anything in me to write, and then things would just come out, right? But I think there was a lot that was unsaid between myself and my spouse, right? I think I I did. Obviously, the letter to your child is powerful. It's huge, and it's really important. But I think for a lot of dads, we talk to our kids every day, and I know I did that. So I think it was I sort of knew what I needed to tell Issa. I wasn't sure what I needed to tell my wife on oddly enough until I wrote things down and things that I hadn't told her that I was felt guilty about. And
Mm,
yeah, and with any parent, you're going to blame yourself when something bad happens, right? And
yeah,
that's not that doesn't exclude parents of stillborn kids, even though it's unexplained. There was no reason for it to happen. You still blame yourself, right? Maybe it's something I could have done. Maybe it's something I could have caught. And so I think a lot of the guilt I was still feeling, the fear that I hadn't expressed to my wife that I think I was just carrying myself because you're the husband, you're the dad,
mm,
you're the guy. You have
yeah.
to
The strong one.
you're the strong one, right? But let's be real. I don't know. My spouse is the stronger one. She's the one that dealt with all the
Yeah,
physical aspects of it and a lot of the postpartum and all of
yeah,
that. So I'm deluding myself to think that I'm the strong one, but it's just different, right? And so
yeah.
again, I think organizing those thoughts was so beneficial to me, and there was things that were, I think, just floating around in my subconscious that until I wrote them down, I wasn't able to really get the strength to face them and put actual words to them, see them in front of me,
Mm.
and then eventually talk to my wife about it.
Yeah. Was there a moment during the series where something cracked wide open? I mean, was it a session, a sentence, a silence in the room, something somebody said, maybe a dad shared? Was there anything like that?
um,
that sticks
Yes,
with
I
you.
mean, I think the fact that it's you know, and the same cohort and the same intimate group of guys across several weeks, you saw the change in the dads, and you got like a strength from each other.
Yeah.
I you know, I guess I'm not much of a crier, but it always gets me to see other people cry, and then
Yeah.
to see guys even like because there were some dads from Sad Dads Club in there that I knew a bit, and just seeing them in such a vulnerable state allowed
Mm.
me to be vulnerable myself, and just talk about real things. I think
Yeah.
just the fact that like I was sharing things with these guys that I hadn't shared even with my wife, hadn't shared with anyone. That it's guys that are spread out all over the country, all over multiple countries.
Yes,
um,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's huge. It's
Mm.
powerful, and it's yeah, it's amazing, and it's all because of our kids, which is I think the most powerful thing for me is this connection and this feeling I have, this joy that I get from this shared experience with these guys is because of Issa. It's part of grief. It's
It is.
you hate what happens, but there can be lots of beautiful moments that come out of it, and moments of joy. Again, not mutually exclusive with grief, and joy doesn't necessarily mean that you're smiling or laughing. Joy can be crying with someone.
It is absolutely right. And I think it really does redefine us as humans, as men, when going through something like this. It's interesting you say that because I know that you've been in therapy. You mentioned it. What surprised you about writing something down versus saying it? Because that I remember you mentioning something like that in the first or second session.
Well, admittedly, I have a pretty short memory, so I'll say things in therapy and then commit to things, and I just won't do it because I'll forget about it. So, just writing things down and then being able to go back to them is huge. I was going back through some of my notes from the letter writing, and then just from other therapy sessions and other journaling exercises I've been doing, and it's surprising to see a lot of the same feelings, but also how much I've changed. It's almost like sometimes it's a different person that was writing these things.
Yeah.
But I think also just being able to make sense of the noise, right? Like there's at least for me, grief wasn't very quiet. It was a lot of noise going on up there. I was like, okay, well, I got to focus on our fertility journey. What's next, right? I want to problem solve this thing. I want to get a plan of action. Okay, I want to make sure my wife is okay. I want to make sure when I'm writing the speech for Issa's memorial service, I want to make sure that I say the right things. I want to make sure that family knows we're okay. So it's a lot of there's just a lot going on, and saying it out loud or saying it to a therapist is just a lot different than actually writing it down and writing it down for yourself, right? It's writing it down without any of the there's still some baggage, right? When you talk to the therapist or talk to someone of there's a little bit of reservation, no matter how good of a relationship you have with them or how honest you are. I think I think I'm still I can speak for myself a lot more brutally honest when I'm writing things down even than
Yeah.
when I'm in any other form of traditional therapy or group therapy, regardless of how honest we are, because the journaling is for me. It's for me
Yeah.
and for Isa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do remember looking back and recalling some of the stuff you shared. It's interesting because the stuff you put down on paper, did you find that you were able to give yourself permission for certain things you perhaps weren't prepared to do previously? Because a lot of dads they feel that they're betraying their child by even a small amount of joy or just a peaceful thought.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've talked to my wife about the odd emotions or the unexpected emotions that come with grief. One of them is embarrassment, which that came out of left field for us is a feeling of embarrassment, but joy and laughter is definitely one of those where like you feel guilty and you feel like Okay, well, once we go back out into the real world, quote unquote, or once we see friends or once we see family and they see us smile and they see us laugh, they're gonna think, okay, you're done. They're done grieving, so let's go back to normal. And
Yeah.
so that the next time you get sad or the next time you have to cancel on plans or the next time you just aren't up for it, that they're gonna think, well, I thought they were cured. And so there's definitely a permission that you get that you give yourself when you write these things down and, like I said, organize these things. And for me too, it was permission to confront things with, I think one of the sessions is around relationships. And so
Yes.
that confronting those feelings and things that I hadn't shared about my grief journey with my spouse, with Issa's mom, with my wife, right? So I definitely found that I gave myself more permission to be honest with her after writing these things down and just looking at them a little more objectively, looking at them. And what helps too is sharing them to being comfortable to share them with the group, because you do get that reinforcement of, okay, I'm not alone in this. This isn't that I'm not a bad person for thinking this, even if it's anger, even if it's sadness. Um, it's all these things are normal. And once you take that step and write it down and then confront those feelings with my spouse, obviously the reaction was great. It's surprising that this fear that you have of giving yourself permission to do these things, you're worried that how other people are going to react. And everyone's story is different. Some you do sometimes get the wrong reaction or the reaction you weren't hoping for, but I'd say the majority of the time, if you're approaching it sincerely and honestly, you're going to be surprised at how well it goes.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think one of the things that I've got feedback on is the intimacy of the cohort, and I think would you say that because in each of the sessions, again, just for the listeners, it's 30 minutes of writing and then sharing, and it's done live right there. So do you think that really helped? Because whenever I get a new bunch of guys, I think, okay, I haven't come across one Alex that has not shared. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, I think dads, even the quiet dads are more eager to share than I think maybe they might admit. I see it with the events that I do or that I help out with, the group therapy events and the talks here locally in person. Um, there's dads that come up to me and say, "Man, you're saying these things that I've been thinking, but I haven't been able to say them." And um, I you're it's I've been wanting to talk to someone about it, and it's like, man, you have permission to talk to. You can obviously
Mm,
talk to me about it, but you can talk to anyone about it.
yeah.
It's all right. I mean, you lost your child. There's no, regardless of it was stillbirth, regardless if it was an adult child or if it was
Mm,
early pregnancy loss or whatever it is. It's you still lost a child. It's one of the toughest things that anyone
yeah.
can go through. And so yeah, there's definitely that. Again, back to that permission of like it's okay to talk about it. And um, the but there is also something about the setting of the letter writing too, though, that is disarming, right? So, even with in-person um, grief counseling and group counseling, there is a level of reservation, right? Those dads, a lot of them will come up to me one on one afterwards, right? And it's like, yeah, I haven't talked to my wife about this, but I feel like I can talk to you about it because you shared your story or you were vulnerable. Because I'm big on grief. Is even if someone looks like they're coping well with grief or even can speak maybe a little more clearly about their grief, that doesn't mean that that's all there is, right? Like I've stumbled a lot. I've definitely grieved the wrong way. I know I said there's no right or wrong way to grief, but there's some things that some ways of grieving that I think I wish I hadn't done, but it's part of the journey. But it's um, even in again in person group counseling. there's still some level of reservation where I think the cohort that at least I was a part of, it was very disarming, and it happened fairly quickly, and
Yeah.
it got better, or it got more and more vulnerable as the weeks went by. I think it was just the right size of group, the right amount of time to share, the right amount of space to share without feeling like you're maybe taking up someone else's time to speak or anything like that. Knowing that you don't have to share, but getting strength from those that do share and then eventually sharing yourself. Yeah, I found a level of vulnerability and intimacy in that cohort that I haven't found in some of the other grief counseling or just bereavement events that
Mm.
I've attended or even been a part of, or and even events that are obviously amazing and groups are amazing and great and doing great things. It's just everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've been thinking about this whole concept of because what you and I went through in that lead writing journey was it's non-clinical support basically for dads, and it has two parts to it. It has the obviously the writing part to it, and the other part is the community part to it. And I always say that that's really very much in support of the therapy that a dad gets. It's not a replacement. It never can be. And my next question was, have you stayed have you stayed in touch with dads? Which you've answered that you have, because obviously they were. And let me just say, for everyone's sake, I mean, you are such an amiable guy. You're such an approachable human being. I've always found that with you. I can approach you, I can talk to you about things, and it's so laid back and such a joy to talk to you. And I can see it. I see it why the dads do that.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I always say that I'm Issa's dad, right? So,
Yeah.
there's times where I almost think like, well, maybe I shouldn't joke around at this bereavement event or something, but I don't know. I don't think that's what Issa would have wanted for me, right? I think she'd want me to be my real self, which is not to say that that there's not moments of sadness or anger or that I haven't stumbled, as I've stumbled quite a bit throughout this journey.
Mm.
But
Mm.
at the end of the day, I'm a really just big believer in leading with love, because the alternative is this doesn't make sense to me. The alternative,
Yeah.
there's moments of anger, moments of sadness, but to just lead with that or just stay in that state, just yeah, I just don't think it was an option for me. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you what do you understand about your grief now that you didn't before, and what did you learn about yourself as a father? But actually, I'm going to kind of switch that around and I'm going to ask you this: or what have you learned from Isa?
oh man, it's actually one of my favorite things that I wrote was the things that she has taught me, and it's something I keep on going back to. It's is yeah, like so much. It's amazing. Everyone changes when they become a parent, right? When I was in my 20s, I'd hear my older brothers talk about this and older friends and other friends that had kids, and it's just like, oh, your life changes, and I'm like, that's I'm sure they have to say that, and then um, I I was always going to be a different person after Issa was born, right? Obviously, I wanted it to be a dad to a living child, but you change, right? I with
Mm.
Issa, with our situation, she was stillborn, but we were able to. She was delivered. We were able to hold her, spend time with her in the hospital, and so that what people talk about, that click in your brain when you're holding your child, is very real. So I knew I was always going to be a different person after Issa was born. Obviously, didn't know it was going to be a parent to a child that's died, but you can't change what happened. You can only really control how you react to it. And every parent has struggles. Not to say that not to say that it's easy, or not to say that one version of parenting um, yeah, obviously, we would want nothing else than to have our living child with us,
Of
but
course, of
you can't
course.
compare, just like you can't compare your parenting to someone else's, you can't compare your grief to someone else's. we're tasked with our parenting is for is parenting a child who's passed. And so the things that I've learned through that because of Isa, yeah, I mean, it's immense. It's meeting amazing people, yourself included, meeting the other dads in the cohort, the other dads in said dads club, the other dads through local bereaved parents events, but also just the love that and joy that's come out of something so tragic, right? Like um, it's thinking about the person I was before, he's I I could never have imagined that I could be still on this side of something like this, losing a child
Yeah.
and still be standing
Yeah.
um and still finding joy, you know.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
I shared with you, and I don't mind sharing that just we just experienced, unfortunately, another early pregnancy loss. We just a few days ago
Yeah. I'm so
are
sorry. I'm so
dealing
sorry
with
about that. Yeah.
no, I appreciate it, with the miscarriage in 9 weeks. And obviously your brain is going to compare grief, right? Your brain is, but every form of grief is different. And
Mm.
one thing that I heard from one of the other dads once is life is going to keep on lifing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to think you're in a good spot, and then life is going to still happen to you. So
Yeah.
I think having Issa very much has helped me through the tough times that have come afterwards, because those tough times are going to keep on happening, including this latest pregnancy loss. It's tough.
Mm.
It's brutal. You still feel a lot of the same emotions, a lot of different emotions. But if Issa has taught me anything, is that she's going to help me get through this, and she's definitely taught me ways to be able to cope with it, and again, just lead with love, and lean into the uncertainty, right? There's we want, I think, as humans, we want a lot of certainty in life, and a lot of like but that's unfortunately not how it works. And I'm learning too that I don't think we'd want it that way, right? We wouldn't want again, the I think I shared earlier, I do believe this, that the opposite of pain and suffering isn't necessarily happiness. It's mystery, it's
Yeah.
uncertainty.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I heard another quote recently that mental health isn't necessarily about being consistently happy. It's about learning which feelings are applicable to feel at the right time. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I definitely learned a lot of that from Isa.
Yeah, I'm going to share something that you posted today,
Okay, yeah.
that I came across. You know what I'm talking about, and just I want to actually quote this. It's I hope that when there is laughter, it's laughter made wise by having known real grief, and when there is grief, it's made wise by having known real joy. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. That really is.
Yeah, that's I came across that. It's a book actually called Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. It deals a lot with grief. It's very, very real, very human, even though it's a little out there. It's existential.
Mm,
It's a little magical realism in there. Very poetic, but I mean, how true is that, right? I mean, from
yeah.
someone who's anyone that's experienced grief, that um, it's a much sillier version of that quote is actually a Winnie the Pooh quote: "Is how lucky am I to have loved something so much that it hurts this much to have lost
Yeah.
them." I butchered the quote, but yeah, you wouldn't have the pain without the love, and you wouldn't have the love without that pain,
Yeah, they go hand
unfortunately.
in hand, don't they? Yeah. Which takes me on to a really interesting point. I want to really ask you is that, did the letter writing journey give you, did it allow you to work around? Because a lot of dads deal and struggle with this whole idea of supporter and griever. They generally they make this daily choice of being a griever. I mean, I did, I remember. Is that something that you struggle with? And did the writing help you to kind of um, did you have to make a choice between support and Griever?
Yes, yeah, I think definitely, and I think that was the week that we focused on relationships was a big part of that because when you're going through grief with a spouse, for example,
Hmm.
with child loss,
Yeah.
um, you're just grieving on different timelines. There's just there's no way around it, and we're very fortunate that we've come out of child loss through this child loss with a very strong relationship, but something that I've always taken to heart is that relationships isn't always 50-50. You know, a lot of people talk about like, well, you got to pull your own weight. You got to like, it's always, you got to split things up 50-50. It's like, no, there's no, sometimes one person has to be given 95%,
Yeah.
100% for, it could be days, weeks, months. Right. And
Yeah.
that's part I think a healthy relationship. And so,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so going through that letter writing week with on relationships and um, just realizing the things that I needed as a griever that maybe I hadn't vocalized, or even things that I hadn't realized that my wife needed from me as a supporter, even, or things that I had maybe overlooked or just for whatever reason hadn't talked about until I sat down, thought about it, and was really writing down, okay, what do I need from this relationship, and what am I maybe not giving enough of to my partner in this relationship.
Mm. No, it's really interesting. I think, we're starting to wrap up now, and I just wanted to really ask you, I know you a little bit, and what are you doing differently in your life? And, how do you hold Isa now in your heart?
So we're about a year out, and May was a year. At the same time, and this is again, you hear it all the time, right? It feels like just yesterday, but it feels like forever ago. Um, I think, I mentioned earlier, sometimes you don't really believe that you're a parent. So we don't have any living children yet. We're still on that journey, and so it's tough to feel like a parent. But I think just walking that life as a parent, reminding myself of that, living it, right, regardless of what maybe you're worried that other people might think or what other people might say or how they might view it. It's just about your relationship with your child. That's the most important thing. And so going back to that, and I think the freedom and the permission to um, to still call myself a dad and
Mm.
to live like one
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
Even if whether you're getting the outside reinforcement or not, whether you're um, whether you always believe it or not, but still giving yourself permission and that freedom to again to feel everything that comes with a parent, and that comes with a parent of a loss. Yeah, a parent
Yeah.
who's lost a child, because it's a big range of emotions, and it changes day to day, hour to hour, and it's just and it's forever. I think too, seeing, at the cohort, we saw dads in different at different stages, some earlier, some later in their grief process, and you see a lot of yourself in the guys who are going through it more recently, and then you see the dads that are a few years out, and it gives you a lot of hope, because you're okay, these guys they're still doing it, they're still around, and they're helping other dads, but it also freaks you out because you're like, man, I'm gonna be feeling this for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman that calls into the weekly Zoom calls that I'm a part of, and he lost his twins to stillbirth, I think back in the 70s, and he
That's
talks
right.
about that loss as if he was still in the hospital room, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's it gives you hope, it gives you strength. It's a little scary because you know you're going to be dealing with it forever, but I wouldn't want it any other way, right? There's no way I'm ever
Yeah.
going to forget about Issa.
It's a funny thing, Alex. I mean, I'm 21 years out. So, and when I'm occasionally I have a conversation with somebody, I don't want to lose the I tell them I don't want to lose the ache. I don't want to lose the pain because that's the only memory I've got of him. And so and somebody who hasn't been through it just they don't get it. They don't understand. You know, what would you tell a dad who was, who's stuck where you were? What would you tell them?
Well, the one thing that always helps me is that you're a dad, right? First and foremost, you're a dad, you're a parent. Their life matters, regardless of how short or long that life was. It mattered and it was important, and it still matters. I think that's what keeps me going, right? Is you you spend for a lot of us, you spend years on this fertility journey. You spend it's emotionally taxing. It's sometimes financially taxing. I mean, it takes a toll on relationships. It takes a toll, right? And to from an outsider's perspective, you might think, oh man, they came out of it without anything, which is not true at all. We came out of it as parents, and came out of it learning so much, loving so much, and with a lot of love. So yeah, just always the reminder that you're a dad, you're a parent, and your kid's life matters.
Yeah, and if you met a father who's just about to start the letter writing journey, what would you tell them?
Even if you're hesitant, or if you think that you don't have a lot to say or to write, you just be open to it. And I guess the freedom and the permission to write it as little or as much as you can or want. So I think you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how much comes out. I again, as someone that wasn't big into journaling before, didn't went into every meeting. I don't really have much to add, or I've either got too much going on work wise or externally, or there's nothing going on behind the eyes. This right now, I'm tired. Eventually, it just comes out, because there is something special about being in that room with those guys,
Mm.
and on that journey together.
Yeah, yeah. Here's my last question to you. Is there anything I should have asked that I didn't?
Ah, you're a pro. You got this. No, this is perfect. No, I think you touched on it a little bit, and I've just reminded myself that you mentioned the importance of the formal clinical side, therapy and counseling, uh, clinical mental health help, but also just the as equally important is just how real and vulnerable the non-clinical side of things are
Yeah,
with these groups, right? Of just we're just being really honest with each other. There's no I guess maybe baggage that comes with a certain type of therapy method, or a certain type of study or school of thought, right? Necessarily with the clinical way to go through it. It's just like, no, we're gonna go through this together, and whatever comes out of it is gonna come out of it, and it's gonna be important because it's real, and it's honest, and you have permission to do so. So I
yeah,
think yeah, I wanted to emphasize that again, is just the the honesty that comes out of these sessions.
yeah. And I've seen that over and over again, the connection between especially the therapist and the work that the dads are doing, because ultimately it's not the program, it's the hard work that you guys have done. and I see it over and over again. Alex, I can't thank you enough, my man. Listen, it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor, and man, it's just any chance to talk about Isa, any chance for us to talk about our kids,
Yeah,
and it's all for Isa, it's all for Hashim, and
yeah, yeah.
it's yeah, that's there's
It is, and I do want to end on this point that our kids have brought us together. We are part of an incredible, unique club of dads. I mean, I've got a new set of friends since I've got to know you guys and others. I've shifted, I've moved. So we are, as I said, a part of a unique club. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure there'll be other dads who will really benefit from what you've shared. And honoring Isa the way that you have, you will always be her dad. You are a dad, and for anybody who's listening, who's in Alex's position, you are a dad.